Eyewaltz is all the craze within the BC community. You probably already know why, but to those who don't know, Eyewaltz gained a true form, which gave him one ability and just one ability, that being a level 2 shockwave. This shockwave essentially doubles his DPS from a mediocre one to one of the best in the game. This true form is so great to the extent that it rivals or even beats Ubin's as the best Uber for the Merc Storia Collab. This video is not going over Iowald's stats and how much of a DPS machine he is, but this video will go over to the extent of which the whole game of Battle Cats can be beaten by Iowaldz. However, I will go over some quality of Iowaldz that will make this challenge possible with him as the only focus. To briefly describe Eyewaltz's capabilities, Eyewaltz is an Uber with a 15% chance to perform a Savage Blow, has a 100% chance to survive, Shockwave immunity, and recently in his true form, a 100% chance to perform a level 2 wave. He targets no trade, thus also granting him curse immunity. In short, Eyewaltz is built to be a pure generalist, meaning that Eyewaltz will roughly perform the same throughout all enemies that he encounters. What should you get out of me telling you this? Apparently all 19-year-olds can perform level 2 shockwaves, and then you immediately lose it 6 years later. Also the fact that Iowaldz almost rivals Very Loud Ice Cream in decibels. Now back to the main focus. Is it possible to beat all of Battle Cats with Iowaldz as your main DPS? Yes! I know some of you are thinking that it is impossible given the fact cat restrictions exist, but they're not that big of a hurdle, as I'll explain later in the video. There are much bigger hurdles that Iowaldz has to go through than just cat restrictions. To prove my claim, I'll theoretically judge how well Iowaldz can perform in all chapters. This is under the assumption that we start off on a new game, and I don't really want to play for ages trying to prove a point. However, there will be footage in the background to help my point, but this would mostly be a theory, a game theory. For this challenge, I'll be restricting myself to using super rares, other Ubers, legend rares, and cat cannons that are not the default one, since if they were included, it wouldn't prove my point while super rares and cat cannons can carry him in stages that he's struggling. So with that explanation out of the way, let's theoretically beat Battle Cats from start to finish. This is really not a problem for all 3 chapters. While Iowaldz in this state does not have its true form unlocked, Iowaldz could still fare pretty well even if it has half of the DPS than its younger counterparts. Iowaldz is relatively cheap to deploy, so his prices won't go super high up in Chapter 3. You can largely ignore collecting treasures, so that is a plus if you just want to get through the game faster. After you beat Bun Bun, then you unlock his true form. Thus, you can easily farm growing cat fruit stages to get necessary materials. The entirety of this chapter is also not a problem, assuming we have already gotten Eyewaltz's true form. This is just like Empire of Cats, but with stronger enemies that you do have to worry about getting treasures to weaken them. However, once you've gotten those treasures, it's mostly a cakewalk. Cats of the Cosmos' first chapter is doable with Eyewaltz being the main protagonist. Although he can't be used for all stages, there's only 6 in which Eyewaltz cannot be used, making him unusable for 12.5% of the chapter. These stages include restrictions of unit cost under $1,200 and special only. While these stages without Eyewaltz are also easy to beat given you have not only focused on Eyewaltz, however it does ruin the challenge, so I say bring Eyewaltz for motivational support. If you feel like your other units cannot compare to the raw DPS of Iowald, just remember that Eyewaltz is in your lineup, cheering you through the stage so that he could be in the spotlight again. Other than that, this is basically Into the Future all over again, but with restrictions on stages. You may have noticed that I have separated Cats of the Cosmos to analyze them in separate chapters. The reason being, Ultra Baba, our very first hurdle. The raw power of Eyewaltz cannot compete with the cruel nature of Ultra Baba's barrier. Therefore, we need more damage. How, you may ask? Well, one way of defeating Ultra Baba is defeating Red Cyclone first, so we can go get Space Cat and use that unit as our barrier breaker. The other way, and the one I think will prove my point the most, is hypermaxing. That's right, now we have to go beat Stories of Legend. Okay, Stories of Legend is pretty long and has variety within its stages. However, our first hurdle within Stories of Legends is metal enemies, specifically Bionic Seaweed. However, unlike Ultra Baba, Iowaltz is currently at level 30 or 40, and technically still can beat metal enemies. At least it will be twice as fast because of his shockwave. Jurassic here could just act as support because it's only single target, and Iowaltz can handle this all by himself and 9 other meat shields. Continuing on, you may be aware that Ultra Baba may have appeared in Stories of Legend, and to that I say, what Ultra Baba? Okay, I know what you're really wondering. What about zombies? In which I'll explain later in the zombie breakouts. But basically, zombies are just like metal enemies. Iowaltz can handle them all by himself, with other rare specialists being supports. Now with our recently acquired Hypermax Iowaltz Savage Blow can now deal enough damage to destroy the barrier. Now Cats of the Cosmos becomes Cats of the Cosmos 1, but even easier due to our buffed up Iowaltz. Cats of the Cosmos 3 also does not present much of a threat just like the previous 2 chapters. Zombies, unlike metal enemies previously discussed about, can take full damage from Iowaltz's Wrath, so they're not super annoying to kill. Plus, zombies in earlier chapters have really weak magnification, so it's pretty much a steamroll. Revives are also not much of a problem, since Iowaltz also has a relatively low cooldown. On another side note, zombie outbreaks don't even help us that much within this challenge. The only good awards are most likely the cat food it drops, so you can hoard all of the cat food until Merc Storia comes back just to get some extra plus levels on Iowaltz. As for energy, this is not really a speed run, so it's just as an extra bonus. Eyewaltz also works in the Aquan realms really well. Unlike barriers, shields can lose durability, meaning that it's not much of a hassle to chip the shields down and then eventually the enemy's health. Yes, the annoying part is you're going to have to work to regain Hypermax Iowaltz as you progress through the chapter, but at least Iowaltz can still do a shockwave, doubling his base DPS. If you believe Surge is a problem, no worries, Iowaltz has survived, so he can always just outlive the Surge. Although, I will say Jangando will be a really annoying boss to face, but Iowaltz will win, slowly but surely. I've already mentioned that Iowaltz has natural curse immunity, and relic enemies don't have anything that could hinder Iowaltz's raw DPS, thus faring off better than most Ubers. Uncanny Legends essentially just becomes Stories of Legends 2, since relic enemies pose no threat to Eyewaltz. So is Eyewaltz the only unit you need? Well, by this video, the answer is yes, as Eyewaltz can clear out mostly everything thrown at him, with the only exception being metal enemies and starred aliens with really high barrier health. Just to think that an April Fool's joke I made 2 years ago about a mediocre generalist being the only unit you need as a joke now became reality. I wouldn't say I predicted it because I was joking, but now it just feels funny that years later, my April Fool's video may continue to fool more people. Given that the fact they don't find this video, that is. I mean, to this day, my April Fool's video is one of the top results when you look up Eyewaltz on YouTube or Google. My video was so good that it appears twice. I'm just saying, I did it before it was cool. Finally, I just want to note I have not covered any of the event stages as they simply vary too much for me to generalize them. The only stage we really went over was the cat fruit stages. However, as for the final challenge to the unmatched power of Eyewaltz, let's take a look at Horopotamus, one of the hardest barons. All this theoretical training had led to this moment. Can Eyewaltz carry the hardest stage?